участники, у вас есть возможность...
Dear participants, you can ask your questions to our speakers. To do so, please scan QR code to get access to our Telegram chat. The speakers will select the most interesting questions and answer them after their presentation. How do we respond to the current educational programs and how do we change the approach? Let's discuss with those who study and who teach education in our days. Please welcome the participants of our discussion. Daniil Zakoldayev, Dean of the Information Security Faculty at the ITMO University. Evgeny Ivashkevich, Rector of the Central University at Tinkoff. Alexey Kashirin, Director of Advanced Analytics at Alpha Bank. Yulia Goryachkina, Director of Digital Talent for Digital Economy at Digital Economy. Dmitry Gadar, Vice President, CISO at Tinkoff. Makar Lyakhnov, Head of the Student Cyber Exercise Center at Information Security Analyst at InnoStage, moderated by Yuliya Danchina, Director of Educational Programs and Projects at Positive Technologies.
Друзья, всем привет! Я рада видеть.
Dear friends, we welcome you here, and I'm glad to see you here in Luzhniki Stadium, and also those who watch and listen to us online. And today I would like to discuss a very important and maybe complex topic of our time is topic of education. And this is the question of our future. Education defines our future lives, and currently we'll be talking about higher school, one of the most important parts of our industry of education. And you know, this year, during Positive Hack Days, we have international partners for positive technologies, about 250 people from different countries, from Saudi Arabia, UAE, from Asian countries. And when talking to most of them, there is a request. We hear a request for education in cybersecurity. On the one hand, I would like the industry of education in cybersecurity in Russia to become expert product, just like many of our technologies which we develop in the world. On the other hand, here at the Positive Hack Days, I'm talking to students who are 20 years old and who have these burning eyes when they started to go into cybersecurity. And now I have this cognitive dissonance, why this happens, why they lose this drive and how to fix it. Still, we do have the business itself, which tries with its efforts, with its position to solve different problems, solve HR problems. And this is what I would like to talk about with our guests. And to understand our audience, by raise of hand, please. If you are a recipient of education system, do you study? Do you go to the university? Yes, we even have adults who study. Please raise your hand if you are a teacher or maybe a professor. Yes, about 50-50. It's interesting why other people are here. Still, please raise your hand if you want to invest your efforts, your time in education, in educational process and get more knowledge and skills. Wow, this is very good. So many people want to do that. So, dear friends, I hope you will be able to find the answers to your questions which you might have. And I do have a question to Evgeny, to you. What are the trends, global trends you can see right now that would tell you that the industry of education has to change and has to transform? Julia, thank you for an interesting question. Let us think together. Let's maybe philosophize, if you will. Obviously, education is very, very complex. And if we take a look at the education system that was thought by Gumbert a few years, 100 years ago, basically, it has the same system. It didn't change. University education is part of the economy. It's part of our global system. So it's affected by global trends. And I think, among the rest, First, I think there are two main trends. One of them is globalization. It's connected to the international aspect, development of the higher education. And second point is our historical processes that happen inside our country.
Talking about globalization, one can look at it this way. In the process of globalization, technologies come out in certain areas. For instance, take chip production. They have localized in Taiwan. The nuclear industry has localized in Russia. Russia is an undoubted leader in both extraction of the materials, the raw materials, and the construction. So there are 2 or 3 technology zones in the world where industries are developed the best. And as to education, it's kind of spread across the world. And for instance, if a student wants to get to an international, to the world level in chip building in Russia, they will probably have to go to Taiwan. For instance, I have a colleague, Gadubinsky, who used to work in MIT and went to Kaufman. And so when he came back, he said that the situation there is very similar. So this is the way globalization works. But in Russia, there's also this history that also applies. Like when the Soviet Union broke down, before that time, there were, schools of thought and specialists in many areas. But once the Soviet Union dissolved, they couldn't compete with the West, and so they just disappeared. And but new universities came up, like higher schools of economics, Shininka and others. They emerged on the debris of the old ones. They brought people from the West, and they started focusing on doing things in the new conditions. I know universities, for instance, that used to train dissoners, like for instance, aircraft designers, but after the dissolution of the Soviet Union, they had to start training people to maintain and service equipment made in other countries. So this is what happened. But now the tide has changed, and I think it's a good thing. So we're now coming back to a situation where there's a need to train our own professionals who will be developing their own or our own technologies to compete with the global engineering centers. Okay, thank you for the global context. So the university industry, as we know it today, on the one hand, has quite a strong foundation, but on the other hand, is also prone to serious changes that are happening in many industries of our economy. So my question is to you. From the business perspective, what's wrong, and where business can either support or, on the other hand, how business as the most dynamic structure in this partnership, what kind of partnership it can offer? Yes, Yulia, thank you for the question. Hi, everyone. I'm happy to be here with you today. I will now be able to say that I spoke at the Luzhniki Stadium. But before we decide this problem, I would just like to explain how Alpha Bank as a business actively joined the education community. Several years ago, we decided that we need to get into the technology fields at the cutting edge. And so in order to perform this transformation, it was clear that we needed to make a lot of changes, both in quantity and quality terms. And then we saw problems. The existing professionals are already busy. As to the young specialists, they require additional training, even though the foundations are excellent, but they don't know how to apply it. It's not even, they don't understand how to exist in the conditions
технологический продукт, но они не понимают, как этот продукт может работать в реальных
условиях. So they are already able, they know how to create technology products, but they don't understand how these products will work in real-life conditions. And so therefore, we understood that we either have to train our own employees, but this didn't seem very efficient, because it turns out that these people will have to do 2 cycles of education, one cycle of education and the second in the company. But we thought if we start some collaboration with universities, we will first save students' time, and secondly cover a large number of people. And this is very important, because I think we have some social function to play. So if our students will join even our competitors rather than ourselves, it will still be a good result, because that will be something that we have done for the country as a whole. And so when we started interacting with the university,
это тоже такой важный дисклеймер, который нужно держать в голове, на мой взгляд.
It's important to note, and it's a big disclaimer that one needs to bear in mind. We didn't arrive in the green field, so the education system in the country is top-notch, and so you just can't arrive there arrogantly saying we're going to teach you how to live. This is not the way to go. And so we tried to use the principle widespread in healthcare. You don't harm. So we need to see what works. Well, as to the foundations, I think there's no other country where they are doing the job better than Russia. The gap is how to apply this knowledge into real life. And when we started this partnership, we felt, and we first started in the master's program in PhysTech in Moscow Physics and Technology Institute. I met the guys and saw that in their minds they had everything to be great employees, but they were lacking practical experience. And I can tell you, we have a lot of interns, but the tasks they're solving, the problems they're solving, are not really intern level. They're really serious professional tasks and problems that they're handling. What else? There's a certain shortage of educators, and for effective learning, we need to offer this individual approach. So we're trying to use that. We are starting collaborations with many universities, and it's very important to work individually on a personal level with every student. And this is what business can do. And also, it's a win-win situation from the outside.
Учится учить. И это тоже очень важный навык, на самом деле.
Because on one hand, we offer value for students, and on the other hand, our experienced professionals learn to teach in this process, which is also very important. And all our partnerships pursue 3 main goals. Firstly, not to break what's already working very well. Second, to offer real-life practice, real-life experience to students. And to offer individual approach,
Мне кажется, важные вещи прозвучали.
personalized approach to every student that we're dealing with. Thank you very much. I think you mentioned quite a lot of very important things in terms of all formats of collaboration. On the other hand, of the expectations to the university level education, also understanding what is the constituent force within the university environment. I have a question to you. When it comes
где ты являешься основным
to the educational system in cyber business, where you are the biggest recipient or the beneficiary of the results of this education. So, from your perspective, are you happy about the level of professionals that you're getting? What can you see? Hi. Happy or not, it's probably a question of what we're doing. Yes, of course, I'm probably not happy at any time. As information security people, I'm always unhappy. As soon as information security is something that you're becoming happy with, it means that something is going wrong, and you probably need to change the area, because in information security is the biggest risk. So, of course, I'm not happy. And I liked what the guys from Alpha Bank are doing. We followed this way, maybe taking a broader approach. Yes, we have internships, we participate, we take part in collaborations with different universities, but then at some point in time, it seems that we are spreading with a thin layer of universities, not clear about the focus profile. So we entered technology leaders, and we're inviting for open collaboration companies who are leaders and positive. For instance, it was one of the first company, Stage, Kaspersky. I don't remember the full list of companies. And of business, those companies of business are doing information security. And we offered an idea to create a joint curriculum on information security to cover the real-life information security experience. So involving people who are really doing positive. For instance, they're very strong in defense. They have strong security center. The first trial course that was launched, it's now come to an end for security operation centers. A lot of people applied for these classes. Those were quite strong. And you can start seeing that competition for these guys is already starting. Just yesterday, we've noticed that people start hunting for them. In the beginning, they were a bit skeptical about that. Why do you do that in such a way? So the companies getting together in order to bring something to the market. So do you have a customer for that? But now we see that we're actually getting into this headhunting chase, because we see that the guys graduating have quite a good level of professionalism. And we're going to keep working like that. In HSC, we have our own information security thread. What's important is the concept is that universities are subsidizing that. All the guys are paying from their own pockets. But what we discussed yesterday is that these people are so motivated that they're prepared to invest in their own education. And we are really interested in that, not to make people get the knowledge, but to teach those who are prepared to pay money for it themselves, because that would give the biggest outcome. And I think this kind of collaboration should fly, and we'll see what the outcomes will will be if indeed the demand will match our expectations. We surely have it, but other companies that operate in this area are going to show interest as well. So maybe we'll try to run a more comprehensive program, such as a master's degree with a full course on information security, and we're prepared to invest. But there's another side. In fact, we've been investing in education for quite a long time, but I'd like to have things that are more practical. So how, in reality, in real life, things that work quite well are like this. I've looked at my team. I have 15% of juniors in my team, and for the most part, in companies, when they see 15% of employees being junior level, they said, "Okay, let's bring them a bit lower to 10% or so." But our goal is actually 20 to 25. So, of course, there are cases when guys get educated and leave, but for the most part, we see a lot of profit, we see a lot of value from guys who join us at junior positions. There was a presentation here. So, you know, when code is assembled, there are different libraries, and this is SBOM, which is difficult to assemble. It's a list of libraries used in the executable files. It is very useful to look for vulnerabilities. So the guys, several students, took the summer to build a solution that competes in quality with industry-level solutions. So this is the MVP that we already have, and we're already using it internally. And it was just built by 3 students and 1 lead developer over the summer. So there's a demand for this connectivity. And the question is about how serious we are about making practical efforts in educating the next generation. So a lot of, you know, talks, a lot of words have been said about this being a thing that is required, but I have practical experience. So on the one hand, you all have quite a mature position regarding the forms of interaction with universities, and you have experience. You are setting quite a high standards of requirements. On the one hand, there's this next generation that has its own position. It's young and bold, and we need to remember that we are in the demographic trough now, so the competition for young talents starts quite actively and quite quite early, since they are about 14 years old. So, Makar, I would like to ask you, as a representative of the student community, what requirements do you set to universities to meet your requirements, to meet your expectations, so as not to spend these 4 to 5 years in the university in vain? Yes, it's a difficult question, because the first important thing that your professor should have a high skill level, because a lot of people lose interest in the first or second year, see that the professor is like an old guard and is not keeping up with time. Yes, the theory, the basics will always be required, but if you come to an organization, even as a junior, even as an intern, they're asking you, do you have any practical experience? And what's that? They can't teach you because they have the lectures.
Очень маленькое количество процентов именно
they read those lectures. They don't have this experience themselves. A very small percentage of professors are at the same time theorists in the university and practitioners in some vendor, some other country. So what the students want? The students want to be able to come and get the information that they will be dealing with at the workplace. So, for instance, I knew the foundations of information security when I was still a high school student, and 10th or 11th grade. And now coming to the university, I didn't want to repeat the same material. I wanted to have some practice, hands-on. So one would wish that the professors should give you this opportunity. And where can they get these skills? They should either work somewhere, or maybe the responsibility should be split. So the theory is given by someone from the university, and the hands-on is conducted by someone working in a company. Or there are certain sections of circles where students can learn based on some experience in companies. For instance, let me give an example from my university. They built the cyber exercise, cyber drill center. So for the labs that teachers give, okay, it's good, but over the 4 years there, I didn't encounter that material in practice anytime. There was a case, let's say 2 months ago. I'm explaining to the professor how I did the task. I tell them about new technologies, and he said, okay. I said, what's that? He said, go on. So let's go on, continue with the task. But I said, it's not interesting, it's not exciting. So he said, it's still too early for you. You have to know everything, all the prerequisites in the background. But by the 4th year, the person is not interested in all these things. They burnt out because they couldn't find anything applicable. And that's it. They're no longer interested. So now, bringing together a group of 3 people who are interested, 2 guys, including myself and some other partner. We got into this information security subject, and there's another guy who has an interest in legal aspects. He wants to get a job in the Federal Security Service or the ministry. So, by the way, the legal part is given to us okay, because it's lawyers and people working in government bodies who know the fields, the experience, have the experience, because no real change is happening in the legal sphere. But if when it comes to information security technology, then a senior-aged professor just can't be aware of everything that's happening. And as to younger people, they want to develop themselves, want to get new skills, and then the question is how they can get it, how the university can make sure they get it. The most obvious way is to collaborate with actual market companies.
Юль, тут я хочу адресовать
or maybe to create some interest groups collaborating with vendors. So I think there are only 2 ways. Yulia, I would like to address a problem to you as a representative of the government sector. It just so happens, as Makar says, the trainers, the teachers are the main driving force for this process. What's your take on that? So on the one hand, we understand that we don't have enough educators, and their number has to grow. But on the other hand, the factor of professors not having enough practical experience is also there. So what's your take on that, Yulia? You know, I'm sitting here and I have my anger starting aside. So we have 36 companies, leads of digital transformation. We spend days and nights in our life investing the most important thing in our life our time so as to build an IT education system in Russia. The Ministry of Digital Development, guys, today is Saturday, and I swear they're spending 24 hours a day working. The Ministry of Education, business, everybody has got together and trying over the 6 years to boost the IT professional agenda. There used to be 46,000 budget.
И вкусная инициатива, где 106 лучших вузов страны напитываются экспертизой.
And it was a great initiative with more than 100 best universities of Russia provided professors. But we have 700 universities. Who does the rest of the work? My mother is a university teacher. She teaches English. She has years of experience, but she gets only 20,000 rubles per month. Obviously, we do understand that they have it very difficult, and it is very difficult to ignite the drive in such students as Makar. And he says that they had only like 3 or 4 people to become champions of cybersecurity in their university. Still, we live in this unique time, and we need to apply the drive and work with these digital technologies. But we know one time, I'm a Christian, I know, still I believe that we live here, we are once here on this earth. Why do we spend our time, waste our time instead of giving it to education? Many companies understand and they agree that we have the best companies in the digital center, but many companies could actually send their experts of IT, of information security, of AI to universities and give the students the future experts and contribute to the future of the whole country. That would be great. And I think that our task in reality is to live here in the moment and to be very strategic about investing our time, our money, our resources into the education. It will take time because it's a strategic goal. It will not solve our current issues, but it will help us in the future. In reality, what happens is that when you invest in the long term, it will affect the whole country, just like Basta sang, when there will be no of us, our children will replace us. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, why wouldn't you just go and approach your friends and try and interest them in IT instead of polishing nails or working in some gas station? You can and should go to IT. You should change your life. You can become an ambassador of this idea. Try to get everyone into IT and information security. And I also love positive guys. I mean, positive security and positive technologies, people who work there. So not only they gathered are here today on Saturday, but also you have a very good school who prepared teachers and professors. And guys, I must say, it's absolutely amazing. If everyone would have this kind of approach where people from different universities would want to actually spend their life, spend their time, so that they will be remembered in 100 years and 200 years, this is very worth it. This information is available online, and we have to work. We cannot be lazy. Obviously, not everyone wants to go around, work out, but Makar told the truth. We have to work on our skills. And just a few words towards Ministry of Digital Development. Anastasia Kazantseva provides the agenda from that ministry, launching different digital departments and many other initiatives, and that is great. We are working in this unique moment. Business needs people, we have HRs who need people, and we have this state governmental projects. And obviously, I will be the voice of this justified anger here at the Luzhniki Stadium. And I call upon you once again, do not waste your time. Please try and improve your skills, get more expertise, so that you will be part of this initiative. You will have soft skills, you will develop hard skills. in order to be useful and in order to be grateful, and people will be grateful to you. And just imagine that when you're 64 years old, you wake up and you understand that you didn't waste your life. Well, actually, it was a very good speech right now. Yulia mentioned one of the projects which is done by Positive Technologies for the industry of education, a school for teachers and professors. And since some of you raised your hands when you asked who wanted to become a teacher or a professor, so this is a non-commercial project, completely free for anyone who is already a teacher, who wants to become this more hands-on experience for the information security. Please pay attention to this. I also asked you a question: who wants to become a teacher? Who wants to invest your knowledge, your experience, your skills into the younger generation? And we had quite a lot of people who raised their hands. And here I would like to ask you a question. I would like to ask Daniil and Sergey. How people who already work in the industry, how can you start to become a teacher? Is there a fast track to become a professor? Oh, thank you and good afternoon. I think I will have a little bit general answer, because we already heard a question regarding the HR model, human resources model, and on what exactly is needed in the market. We're talking about economy, we're talking about cybersecurity, but we should not avoid the market. And currently we see that we need middle-level specialists. Mostly middle-level specialists are required, people who already have experience, who already worked in a team. And because of that, we have different challenges for universities. So who will provide education, who will provide this teaching? In ITMO, we have our own standards, and we play around with the HR model. 75% of teachers and professors are part of different companies. They teach and they already have this personal experience. Obviously, we're not talking about basic science, we're talking about applied science and applied professions. Here we mention an upbringing and nurturing of a specialist in a team. That's a completely different economic model. This is completely different. You have to engage the industry so that they will invest their money and resources, so that they will provide teachers, they will pay for some costs. This level is very, very different. If we're talking about middle-level specialists, then those people have different mentality. That is why we implement a lot of activities like ethical hacking. They do not just develop their hard skills, red team, blue team. They also work on their, let's say, psychological portrait, because we can see that younger generation understand a lot of IT, but they might become autistic. They cannot work in a team, they cannot leave their house, and this is true, so we have to avoid this. And still, we have to nurture middle-level specialists. This is research and investigative experience. And universities have a broad task at hand. We also have to nurture future managers, top managers, architects, professors, CEOs. We have to nurture new deans. So it's not just some kind of HR model that has some stack of technologies that this person can do this hard task. It's much more broader. The university has to provide specific experience in that specific industry. Well, we're not talking about specialty, we're not talking about bachelor's degree, master's degree. It doesn't really matter what you call that. Still, you need to have skills, still you need to have 6 years full of fundamental science. We have to provide practical experience, and this is to answer your question, how do we get into teaching? And this is one of the ways to get your foothold into this door. And just remember, Makar Lyakhnov, he mentioned how to do that. And obviously, the experience in 6 years, you should get research experience. Understanding tasks, formalizing the tasks, have some kind of research to make it into a document. This is very important. This all the specialists and experts should have. And this is what universities should respond to. Universities should be able to have this adaptive model, very flexible model. Previously, it was said that this turn was very, very slow and very rigid. And that is why they should be able to have changes into the educational standards. It should be flexible. And going back to the beginning, obviously these are industry experts and positive technologies clearly understand this. We already have master's degree where positive technologies will implement certain tasks with their competence and skills, which is very important. Dear Minister just mentioned that this will be a requirement. They will have to do this. IT people will have to provide their specialists to universities. Well, the point how it looks from the economic side is a little bit different. We do understand that it might be a little bit complicated, but still the industry itself does understand it, that it's very costly to raise a specialist from scratch, and universities cannot give you everything. So they have to work together. There has to be a synergy. There have to be very targeted, precise goals. And even 3 to 5 years ago, not all the players in the market could see that. And now we can hear more and more. It didn't really matter where they go. What's important that we have at least some kind of product at the end of the educational program. So I would like to call upon you to work together with universities, and they can provide you with actual money. I would like to add a few words here. We started with all the potential problems we have on the market. And Julia had a very flaming speech that everybody should be involved. But I think government should be involved in the school education because we have the main problems there. If we take a look at the numbers, how they pass mathematics, and mathematics is the foundation for all IT people, information security people. 350,000 people tried to pass this last year, and before 280,000 people. So you can see this trend. It's a downward trend, and nobody will be passing mathematics in 15 years. Obviously, this is a joke, but still people do not want to pass mathematics or physics exams in school. And this is why government should pay attention more to the fundamental education of our citizens. We should have one information field, one cultural field. This is very important. But when we're talking about higher education, the government should not be the only customer of education. This is what happened during the Soviet time. It provided money, it calculated the number of engineers, economists, experts of different professions, and then the government decided where this person should go and where they should live. Now, yes, the government provides money, but it does not work with other problems. They do not know how many specialists are required. They cannot calculate this. Universities use their own programs. They prepare who they can prepare, not who the market needs. If you have a student who can work Pascal, this is what they do. They don't really care about new programming languages. And this is the problem. Higher education got away a little bit from the needs of the market. It stays within its own trend. And our main task is to bring them together. We want to connect higher education with business. And to do so, business has to become a customer. The Central University, which I represent, we already have an experiment with dozens of partners. We are just Central University, and Tinkoff is one of our partners, and Positive Technology is another partner. And our task is to prepare resources for IT industry and to provide an ability for business to become a customer for the higher education without relying on the government for 100%, but try to solve your own problems yourself. And obviously, the government has its own role when we're talking about medicine, when we're talking about education, like teachers, professors, for schools, obviously military. Here, the role of government is very big and important. But when we're talking about engineers, when we're talking about developers, or maybe information security person, an expert, then the government doesn't really understand what exactly they need to prepare. And here, they need to pass this function of customer to the companies that actually need these experts. And this is important for the government. It's very important to build the correct structure. And one of the initiatives which we provided to work in the vocational school, in higher education, is to have some tax benefits. If some company provides support for the education, then they could get some tax benefits. And if they invest in higher education, then obviously they need some experts back. And after that, if they receive the experts they need, obviously they will invest more, and then we'll have this positive cycle. And to answer Julia's original question, is it easy to migrate from one industry to a different? I can give you my example. I have two parts of my life. I worked as a research associate in a nuclear physics university for the first half of my life, and then I went into business, became an analyst, and I had to work for 2 years and study for 2 years in a business school in order to understand this new language in this new industry. And for me, this was quite difficult to go from science into business. If you have any questions, obviously I can share my experience. Still, if we take a look at the successful experience and success stories in the Western countries, they don't have 75% like Daniil mentioned. They have like 10-15% people who go from industry to industry, then they go to... And they go through the new trends. 10-15% is okay, that's enough. 75%, I think that will be too much. Still, I think this is up to discussion. I think this will be quite problematic and it takes time. So the Central University, our organization, has one distinctive feature from other programs, and we want to connect hard disciplines like mathematics, development, machine learning with business education, marketing, finances, and we want to make it into a single program. And this is our distinctive feature from other technical universities. Usually they pay attention only to development, only on hard skills. And when a new specialist comes to a company, they take 1 or 2 years to adapt to. I took 2 years to study in the business school. So this is quite a difficult problem. That's why we believe we need new specialists, we need new experts. Somebody would work as a developer, somebody would work as a product manager, or maybe product analyst. They will find their niche. In universities, you have to give education for all this. Universities should be aimed at the business problems, and Central University is exactly what we do. Thank you, Evgeny. You've raised an interesting question regarding the tax benefits. And I would like to use my moderator rule and maybe joke a little bit and ask Yulia, or maybe our audience, this kind of initiative, and people who raise their hands, people who work in good companies, they get great salaries. If they decide to teach, if they decide to become professors, can they be a part of this tax benefit program? Well, unfortunately, my surname is Goryachkina, which means I'm always for something hot. Still true, we have different programs and different industries. I'm jealous of us because IT industry takes all the attention, all the money. In 5 years, IT industry is above all the rest. test, and we still have to run again and again. And maybe you can get even tax benefits. Well, obviously, this is a joke. But that being said, all the companies are very grateful to the Ministry of Digital Development. And we cannot ask for more. Still, we work on this option. And let me be like Sofia Rotaro, like another famous Russian singer. Maybe I will go to Ministry of the Digital Development. I will ask Anastasia Kazantseva, Anastasia, tell the truth, we actually worked on potential tax benefits. And we had even more, and we will pass it on to the economy of data. That is true. That is true. Colleagues, good afternoon. Obviously, this is not my working day, but maybe Anastasia, please stand up and you will get a round of applause. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak. And Yulia is completely agree. We had heated debates on what we can do for the IT industry. What was said was correct. And why? Because education depends on teachers, on professors, and not just on the professor, but those who had real experience, who have real hard skills, practical hands-on experience, and they can pass on this experience. And this is where the success of education comes from. And obviously business has to be a part of it. That's why we're working on digital departments, digital chairs. We have more than 100 universities that employ this kind of program, and more than 200,000 students already are part of this program. And until the 30th of September, you can become a part of this project. If you haven't heard about it, you can become a part of it. Still, we are going on. We are repackaging the national project, the new economy of data, and currently we are analyzing the issue, and Maksut already mentioned this, regarding the anchor companies. And we do understand that in IT industry, we've invested a lot in IT industries, resources, time, money, and now IT industry has to give back results, obviously providing education for students, for the younger generation. And now we're working on the project that would provide accreditation and certification for companies, and those companies would actually show their involvement in the education of the younger generation. So Anastasia, obviously she cannot tell us everything, but you can hear, you can see that for 6 years the government listens to companies, to the business sector. So I hope, I wish that we will be able to get tax benefits. Let us give a round of applause for Julia. Dear friends, on the one hand, we have a higher school in IT, specialties and specialization in adjacent professions. We also have information security. And Daniil, I would like to ask you a question. When I have a conversation with deans of different universities, when I talk to professors, and I tell them, well, there are great universities who provide us with great success stories, like ITMO University, like Central University, MIPT, or we know even greater universities in Kazan. There are great success stories, and I ask them a question. Why wouldn't you change this program? Why wouldn't you have internship here? And they would answer that, well, the industry is very regulated, we have standards, we cannot do this, we are very rigid, and we have to approve here, we have to approve there, we have to discuss it everywhere. How do you at ITMO solve this problem? And what kind of advice can you give to other people who want to change the university from within and want to provide what's needed for Makar and other younger generation people? Okay, so the industry is actually very heavily regulated, but since ITMO ITMO has the status of National Research University. We have our own educational standards. We are not part of the Ministry of Education. We have our own standards, and that's why our program is improved and updated multiple times a year without approval of the Minister of Education, because we understand that we have to respond, and sometimes I make these jokes that we do not want to speak about history of cybersecurity. We do not want our university to become a museum. We have to be up to date. And how to do that with the government? Obviously, the dean is an important person. They have to decide for themselves. I cannot just say that I have the standard number 3.1 and I cannot do anything. But those people obviously cannot get any work, and other deans can solve this problem. So I do not really have a success formula, unfortunately. Maybe you should be bolder in changing your program. Maybe it should be a little bit separate from the Ministry of Education. And once again, experts, 75% in the university, we believe they have to be experts from the industry. Then we will have a very good result at the end. Thank you. I have more questions from our audience. We have just a few minutes left, so maybe if you want your questions to be asked, this is the time to give those questions. You can use a Telegram bot to ask a question, and the author of the best question will receive a gift. Dmitry, my question is to you. We have a question from the audience.
Кому вы, как работодатели, готовы отдать большее
предпочтение
мотивированному, но уже специалисту с большим опытом, либо молодому, амбициозному,
яркому, if you have a young, driven, without experience, or would you give an opportunity to an expert, a middle-level expert? So if we have a gift, if we can give a gift for this question, please raise your hand. This is a very good question. And it's a very important question. Who would we choose? A younger specialist without experience or a middle-level expert who might become a little bit rigid, but they're already a professional? So this is a very important question, but before answering them, there are 3 points. First of all, why Central University and why is this associated with Tinkoff? Obviously, I have a question for them. Why Tinkoff has the same rights and privileges as positive technologies, because we have Tinkoff here on the agenda. Second point is... Okay, so let me rephrase. In my school, in my son's school, he could choose IT or mathematics. And people said that IT was great, and I went there to my son's school, and it turned out that IT was to be taught Python. Who would teach them Python? The same old teacher who never used Python her or himself. And for me, to say that IT is Python, that's absolutely senseless. And the same applies to mathematics. We understand that mathematics foundation is better and stronger, and it's better to go there, because IT and programming is all about algorithms. You don't really need a high-level programming language. You need to understand the foundation. So why I'm talking about this? Well, you are moving in the direction where you are pushed. On the one hand, there are teachers, there are professors, there are students who will provide, but I think we should push from a different side. And I will tell you how. I went to schools to give lectures, and you know what they react to? They say hackers are great, and InfoSec people suck. And you shouldn't do that, because they are just like police people. And we need to change this paradigm. It's more important, because children who want to be hackers and not InfoSec people, then maybe they mature, maybe they change, but currently their motivation to be a hacker is greater than to be an information security person or an expert. So to answer your question, It's much more important to work with the basic motivation compared to experience. And motivation is very important because in many cases you have to continuously improve your skills. I do not know anyone who already finished their education. I think this is impossible. It's not like you go to some courses and then you stop learning. I haven't finished my education. I always go through new courses. Currently, I undergo machine learning courses. I am in the process of teaching and in the process of learning. I'm going through multiple different courses at the same time, and this is not the end. I believe there is no end to information security. The landscape changes so fast that you have to adapt. You need motivation, and you have to be ready that you, as a person who works in information security, if you stop, then in a few months you will become outdated and basically obsolete, and nobody would care about working with you, and nobody would want to employ and work with you. So obviously motivation is much more important in information security compared to some skills, earned skills, or maybe even experience. Because you need motivation to get skills, and if you lose your motivation, you will just stop developing. I would add a few words to what Dmitry just said. The question is very important, and I've been thinking about it a lot. I partially agree with what Dmitry just said. In my opinion, there is a strength of team here, because team has different tasks, and in order to be at the edge, obviously you have to learn, you have to study, and to do so you need motivation. But that being said, in a bigger picture, we have different tasks. And in order to have this metaphor from biology, to have a new organism to be born, you need two different components. One would be for secure and stability, to pass this knowledge from the previous generation to the next generation. And then you need some new experiments, and you need both of them. You cannot do with just one of the sides. So depending on the tasks which will be solved by this expert, the solution might be different. You might have inexperienced by motivated person, or you maybe have a skilled person without motivation. So you will find an application for both people. The problem with the lack of motivation that, so if you have motivation, they will get experience, they will have skills, and they will be better than the first person who lost their motivation. And then this person would lose on all the edges. So clearly motivation is this is what we should do.
Ну, то есть просто в Тиньке, наверное, культура еще такая немного...
Well, the difference may be in the organizational culture, because in Tinkoff, the culture is such that, firstly, the average age
Правда, очень... 27 лет, да, молодые ребята.
of our employees is what, 15 years old, 20 years old, 27 years, actually, to be serious, very young people. And there's this culture of achievement, of disruption, trying to conquer the market, to do everything in a new and novel way, to compete with everything that used to exist, to contest everything that existed. When Evgeny was risk director and the new CIO, joined, and Evgeny was a junior analyst, sat down in the meeting room with the management, arguing using a formula, who's right and who's wrong. And this is the culture that we have. The specialists were arguing with each other, trying to prove what worked and what not. And the CEO, when he joined the organization, he understood and accepted this culture. In that sense, it makes us very similar. It works exactly the same.
Вот. Ну, я бы просто посмотрел на...
In my department, the average age is a bit less than 27 years old. I would just like to look at an inexperienced but enthusiastic risk champion. There are areas where experience matters. Let me look at it from a different perspective. When a guy with the knowledge, with the experience, they probably had some motivation when they were getting the knowledge, but they probably had external motivation, parents, their professors, professors, teachers. He wanted everyone to like him. I saw such guys who joined Moscow Phase Tech together with me. In the beginning, they saw that they didn't get in the right place, so they didn't have internal motivation. So the main task for the school is to form this internal motivation, to make it so that the person should get an internal source of motivation, not the external one from their parents or teachers, but some internal motivation to want to achieve something, to make something happen. This internal motivation, much more important everywhere. I don't even think it's a matter for discussion. Guys, you have to love, and that's it. You have to keep telling them, you have to dream, you have to create such an ecosystem. Well, guys and girls, and by the way, for girls, it's quite easy to join IT and information security. On that, I will tell you, the effectiveness of your departments will grow if you get more girls. So, and business has a role to play here, because we're here, sitting here, so enthusiastic, and everything has been fine. So, Yulia, with your permission, a big message to the young generation. So the admissions campaign will start. Hey guys, we believe in you. The IT industry is waiting for you. All top people in digital transformation are already ready to enroll you, to offer you cool things, cool cars, cool life that you will love yourself. And this vein, education is such a thing that you can't give. Everybody can only take it for itself. And this is something that you have to carry away with you. Education is something that you have to take yourself. And our role is to offer you sources of this data. So appropriate the knowledge, yes. Yes, a person who is quite serious about andragogic. I love when people are in this position. I have a neighboring question, which sounds like this. Can you get into cyber sec without university level education? Right now, at the stage in Nizhny Novgorod, and by the way, on parallel, we have a youth day as part of PhD, both here in Moscow, in the next stage, and in Nizhny Novgorod, and in St. Petersburg, and in Tatarstan. So right now, at one of the sites, there's a guy speaking who is 16 years old and who's only going to high school, but already is working in the industry and is earning on Baghdad. Makar, my question to you, your advice for those who are 14 years old now, what would you do with your position? What kind of advice you can give? The first thing, I would suggest that you ignore everyone. I would just tell you, hey guys, go to learn some basics. There are cool classes from CyberEd, White Hacker course. There are classes on Udemy. They are free, open for everyone. You don't need to wait for getting 18 years old. You can get data yourselves, get information and knowledge yourselves. Starting to work even before you get to the university. There's a ton of online sites, Box and others. You can get information, the basics in any area. And then when you start working in a real company, you'll get real life experience. The biggest hazard you have is to lose the time. So losing 4 or 5 years in a university just to get the diploma, why do you need that? Okay, thank you very much. Your hand, please. So I would like to thank you all for having been with us today, discussing such an important agenda. We're building our future together, and education is an important component of this future. Thank you all, and have a great day and great discussions here.